February 3rd one in already.
You put it in place so you wouldn't forget it, huh?
And I also put them in the order of how to sit, like you were here and everything.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Really, I'm sorry about that. Okay,
So we have to go back and do roll call.
okay.
We never did roll call.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's just start it all over again. Okay, roll call. Mrs.
On
Doherty?
what? Roll call on what?
Being here.
Being here.
We did
Never
roll
did
it.
call,
Yeah, present.
Okay, Mr. Dreutzler?
Present.
Mr. Lombardi?
Present.
Mr. McAlear?
Present.
And Mrs. Sticker?
Present.
Okay. There's a full moon out there. It affected me.
Okay.
I have one question. Are we going to change our time of meeting? We talked about that last year and then we didn't.
Personally, I think we should move it later because all the other, or almost all the other committees meet later, and it's very difficult for people to get here at 5:30 if they work or have kids they have to pick up or something. So that's my personal suggestion. 7 or 7:30.
I'd rather meet at 3:30.
To me, that seems not in the spirit of an open meeting.
What's that?
To me, that seems like it's not in the spirit of an open meeting.
I mean, it's not in the spirit of an open meeting.
Most people work, so they're not gonna be able to be here. So if you schedule at 3:30 in the afternoon, that's effectively closing the meeting to anyone who has a 9-to-5 job.
Sal, for you, does 5:30 work?
Everything works for me.
Okay.
I will have a conflict on Monday nights, later. It will be, not all the time, but I have work commitment, so a 3 o'clock or a 3:30 can work for me.
Last year, we talked about making the meeting at 3:30, and the only reason we changed it is because our liaison asked us to, and she worked until 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, we were all in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if meeting at 3:30, we won't have a public portion? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not about me. I mean, I can make it at 3:30. I can make it at 9:30. It's about trying to make sure that the meeting's open to the public, and I feel like 5:30 is not a time that most people, if they work until 5 o'clock and they get stuck in traffic, they're not able to get here. So, to my mind, there's a reason that most of the other meetings in the borough are held later than 5:30. It's because they're trying to make sure that people who work, have families, whatever other obligations they have, they can get here. I don't think it's about being convenient for us. I think it's about being accessible to the public. I'm just one vote. That's my
Right?
point of view.
I know.
Well, I'll stick with 5:30 if that's, we have done that. I mean,
So we would just say that it's moved.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, after everybody read and everything was okay, 5:30, okay? Can I have a motion to,
So I move to keep the resolution of the current meeting time of 5:30 on the, which will be the first Monday of every
I'm in a
month.
meeting.
okay, and who seconded that?
I'll,
Okay,
oh, Rhoda second.
all right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay. So, okay, I'm gonna take a roll call. Mrs. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Dreutzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi? Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
It's okay. Mr. McAlear?
no.
Okay, and Mrs. Stecker?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So I'm gonna open up discussion between us all up here for our 2025 budget.
Excuse me start the budget, I spoke with Anna, and the amount of money that we had left over for, within the budget, we decided to put that in Arbor Day. So we have to include that in the budget. So if you want $400, now, according to Anna, she has $202, and our records show $467. So we'll figure out how to get that corrected, but, that has to be placed when you're doing the budget, so whatever you're gonna put into Arbor Day, you have to include, that money. That 267.04 or 220.
Right, the balance that we had from.
Correct. Now, the 400 for plant a tree for those people, that has to go into planting a tree. So what will happen is that we have tree planting, that has to go in there, an additional $400 in there. And I think it has to be asterisk, what it is, we'll just put an asterisk stating that we received a check, okay, for $400. And we're gonna do that for planting the tree, and also with the budget money that we're putting in Arbor Day.
Okay.
So it'd be additional money in both of those.
Last year's budget was $400 for Arbor Day.
I believe it was,
Yeah.
yes.
Is that gonna cover the plants that we give, the kids at Mount Wayne?
Well, I believe it is, I mean, we always made it work, so,
Okay,
okay?
So-
What's the new total then, if we're adding?
The new total, that's where the problem comes in. Anna has $220, and we have $267.
well, you and her can take care
We
of
can
that.
figure
We're
that,
not
but
gonna
it just
talk
has to
about
go,
that.
yeah, okay?
So it'd be 667 total for Arbor Day, is that what?
Yes, or
Okay.
420.
I just wanna make sure, cause I
Right.
checked to see how much
No,
the,
no, you put in $400, she puts the 200 off of that 400. That's what happens.
so we're removing the 200 from it?
What's that?
You
We're
have to
removing
put it in the
200?
budget.
You put in $400, and part of that $400 is her amount of money,
The leftover money.
okay?
No, that's not what's gonna happen. She's gonna give us.
Karen, you and her work that out. We're gonna decide what we wanna put in there. That's what's gonna happen to it then, Karen.
All I know is that that money is additional money that is not, has anything to do with your budget technically.
Yeah, well, we don't need additional money if $400 is the number.
Okay, all right.
I was asking because according to my calculations, $400 isn't the number. I don't know how many students there are exactly at Borough, but I estimated 250.
No, 210.
Okay, so we have, and I don't know if the Arbor Day membership comes out of
Yes.
that. So the Arbor Day membership is $125, so,
What was your new total?
That's
you
on
put
the
in?
next, right, the membership is right next, on the next line.
well, I just asked if it comes out of the, that's what it says professional membership, so I'm not sure if that is counted as Arbor Day or not. But either way, there needs to be some sort of an increase. If the number, it's $79 for 50 seedlings, so if we're going with them again, so we would need to buy,
$320.
yeah, so we would have 79, so I'll call it 80,
Please.
yeah. Right, and 5, so.
I'll make a note for that too.
So I'm just trying to do the math is all, Frank, to make sure that we have enough to cover it.
Yeah, I only put 500, I increased it
Yeah,
by 100.
I had 525, but I mean, I'm just trying to make sure that we have it, we don't have to take it from somewhere else. It depends if the membership is coming from that or from the line below, I guess.
Rob, if you want 525, I'll go with it.
It doesn't matter to me as long as we can
No,
cover it.
that's fine with me.
Yeah, I say.
So you're basically saying $320 for the seedlings and $100 for the membership is gonna be your direct cost from that account. In case somebody asks, I just wanna know. I asked a lot of questions tonight, this is my first time, guys, so just bear with me.
So we have 200 students, and there's 50, that's 4, plus we really have to say 5, right?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
80 times 5 is 400.
400.
So that gets us to the 400.
Okay,
Yep,
And then the
additional-
125 for the membership would be 525.
okay.
That's on my math, I don't know.
So what is the membership underneath? What is professional membership and dues?
Well, that's for the Arbor Day, not Arbor Day, for your membership to join, you join the federation, Shade Tree Federation. Arbor Day, what else comes out of Arbor Day?
So we didn't join this year, right, Karen, last year?
No, we didn't join. Okay, so this year we're joining.
Oh,
What's the
I made that,
benefit
I
of
made that
joining?
150.
I'm confused as to why we didn't join last year and would join this year.
Because first of all, there was a couple of things that happened, even with Arbor Day, there
Yeah.
was a cost, I mean, they haven't given us this $37.50 that's still out there, that we sent the purchase order, I don't know how many times, and they haven't paid it, okay?
Okay.
Alright, now with that, when we joined Federation, they misplaced it when I sent it in.
Oh,
So
okay.
I said, okay,
Alright, so it's only that they misplaced it, which is why
correct,
we're under budgeted.
right.
So we're gonna keep it
Okay.
at 250.
Got it.
Okay. Didn't have that, okay.
Well, I have a comment there too. But it's a large comment, so I don't know if this is the place to say it or not, but I would suggest that we make that 900, and here's how I arrived at that number, okay? So according to my research, $150 for the group municipal membership to the Shade Tree Federation.
Right.
Okay? Currently, we are not accredited as a Shade Tree committee. That means that we lose our legal liability personally and for the borough, because we're not accredited with the state. All right, so I have longer notes, I'm happy to talk about this. But in order to get accredited, we have to take some classes. There's core training, which is $100 per person. It's offered at the conference in the fall and in the spring. And then we have to take continuing ed units. Now, I don't know if those are bundled in with the conference, if we can do it more cheaply, but when I looked on Rutgers' site, it was $550 about, you have to get 8 continuing ed units. They came in 5s and they were $275 each if you go early, which we would try and do. If we did this, we would, you save a little bit of money, but not a lot there. So by my math, that comes out to 900 for that one.
So why does everybody have to get accredited?
Well, for one thing, the law was passed so that the borough would be covered. It's, I can give you my note on it if you would like.
No, I'm just curious, does everyone have to get accredited, or, you know, cause we're gonna have this budget problem, right? About when we run out of money towards the end of the year, and if every little bit counts, and I'm just trying to figure out, I'm not saying I disagree with it, I'm just trying to figure out, does everybody have to be accredited, or can it be a portion of it so that we have?
Oh, you mean in the group, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
thought you meant every municipality.
No.
No, so it's, 2 people have to take the core training, which is $100. And that's offered, I think I said that's offered at the conference, and there's an online one, virtual one in the spring. And then there's the continuing ed units. Those have to be, they're separate from the, two different people have to do them. One person can't take all the continuing ed units. And they're separated, are separate from the core training, so you can't double count. So you have to take the core training and then you have to take additional continuing ed units.
And so, there's a certain number of trees that DPW works on for us every year. Does it have to be 2 members of Shade Tree, or should it be also a person on DPW since
It's re-
they're being engaged with some of the tree work that we're
It's
asking?
required to be a person from the municipality. I think it was,
Last time it was Lori Fu and, John Signorelli.
And John Signorelli.
Right.
Yeah, Lori Fu was a councilwoman back,
And she was
and
the
it had in parentheses
liaison,
core trained,
Right.
remember?
right.
and she was the liaison to the Shade Tree.
Right, that's what I meant.
And John Signorelli, so I don't know if you want him to continue or someone else in his place.
I would imagine
Yeah,
he's
I think-
accredited.
I mean, we could discuss, but I guess in terms of the budget, it seems like that's the minimum we would need in order to meet those obligations, at least that I could see.
So it's, Robin, instead of 250, you wanna make it 900?
Yeah, that's just like I said, the 150 for the membership, and then 100 times 2 for the core training, and then 275 times 2, and we might be able to get a little bit of that back if people register early for the training. You can save $40 a person or something.
I mean, it sounds reasonable.
We need it, right? So,
Can I just ask who would be volunteering from the shade tree?
We'll worry about that later, let's get the budget done.
Cause it sounds like it wasn't even someone from Shade Tree last time,
Yes, it was, Lori Foot. She was
just a
the
liaison. Okay, I'm talking about one of us.
yeah, but she was liaison, it wasn't a member of the shade tree,
Correct.
cause you had the Lloyd Williams and all the other members on the bottom.
Right.
So they were saying that a shade tree member had to be part of
I
it.
think it's technically the language says 1 volunteer and 1 municipal person,
Okay.
so there's probably
Okay.
some flexibility there, but I'd have to look at the exact.
She was doing the whole grant at
Yes,
that time,
I know.
so.
greatly missed.
Okay, so $900 for that
$900 instead of $250.
Mhm.
Okay,
Let's do, what about park maintenance, we skipped down there.
no, we still have,
Or
oh yeah,
miscellaneous.
parks maintenance. The first one.
Which one are you, what sheet are you guys looking at?
The-
Oh,
The
you're
budget
looking
sheet.
at this. Which one, which sheet are you
The
looking at?
budget.
They're looking at the budget.
The,
Yeah,
the
budget.
worksheet, the budget worksheet.
Oh, you want one?
Let me get it.
Yeah, you did. Got it last time.
Sorry, I'm looking at this budget report.
Right. So I'm looking at it.
Here, we can share.
No, I'm gonna use
You
this.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna keep, what, $7,000 like we had last year?
$7,000. Do you wanna increase it?
No, that seemed to be adequate.
For park maintenance, I would keep that at
Yeah,
the
'cause we used
7,000.
6420,
We
right?
used most of it, yeah.
So I put 7 in, well,
What about membership? Or miscellaneous, rather?
what is miscellaneous? I mean, I kept it at 150.
Sounds like it's just a parking lot.
Something to fall back on?
Right? It sounds like it's just engaged, because in if you look at this, 2023, it was, what, $48.36?
Yeah, but 22 they went over.
Yeah, but 2021, it was.
So the 150 we could probably use for the 900, you know what I'm saying?
It's just for anything that.
Yeah, I think it's a
anything that
catch-all.
would be over or
Okay.
catch-all.
So we could just leave that as is.
Right,
then.
it seems nominal to.
So keep it at 150?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Emergency service? 1,300, the same as it's been right along.
That's fine.
And that's related to emergency service work for trees that go down. Is that correct? Just so I'm on the same
For
page.
emergency takedown.
Emergency takedowns, yep.
That's fine.
Tree removal and takedown?
3,000.
I put 25.5.
25.5, okay.
What I did, I looked at the sheet that you give, and you had, I have I split it in half, you had 30, so I did 15 at 505 and 15 at 795. And then the 15 at 95 and 15 at 300 according to the bid sheet.
Okay.
That's how I came up with
I
it.
think this is a big unknown. I mean, our Forrester has indicated, as did the 5-year plan, that we're gonna be experiencing a lot of problems with the trees due to the drought that we just went through, and also due to the storms that happened a bunch of years ago where the trees are. I don't know that little incremental increase is gonna be enough to cover it. And if we're okay with that and just figure out that we might have to reallocate funds from another line, I'm okay with it, but otherwise I think, I do think it needs to be bigger.
And with that point being made, I know we had never really done this, deep root watering. Is that something that we should possibly consider for this year coming out of the drought that we had?
It depends, I mean, it's definitely helpful, but DPW also does some watering, so that's where I'm saying it depends, if something they can handle, they do have a watering tank. So if it's something we can get with them and we can have them do it, I think it would help, obviously save your budget.
So we could leave the deep water as is then.
Gonna make it a line item or?
Yeah, in this budget sheet, there's a deep root watering for $0.
Oh, okay.
So we'll leave that as is.
What was it, zero, right?
Yeah, 0.
Are we okay with 25.5, is we pass that?
What did you get, Rob?
For tree removal?
Well, I guess my comment about this is, that I'm fine with this for this round. From reading and doing the research I did, it seems to me that according to what it said in the 2014 plan and from my other research, that we're really supposed to be going around in November, December, when after there aren't leaves on the trees, and doing a risk assessment, and then basing our budget on what the risk assessment says. So, we can't do that tonight, so that's not gonna happen. But I think going forward, we need to figure out what this process is, because as an aside, if people will indulge me, I looked at the budget on the municipal site, and in the last 10 years, our budget's gone up 118%. It's doubled, and in the 10 years previous to that, it only went up 7%. So the budget's been going up really rapidly, so I think that, what I saw from watching the council meeting is that there's a lot of money, it's going up fast, and they wanna have some checks and balances. And I think one way we could do that would be to start early in the fall, preparing our budget based on the actual needs of what's going on. So planning locations, whatever the risks are. Now, it's not gonna encompass everything, obviously. You can't do that or know everything, but that seemed to me to be what we should be doing moving forward.
I think you have to do it continually. I mean, you can't wait, if you've got a dead tree, you're gonna wait until the fall to take care of a dead tree. I think you see things when you have spring comes, whether a tree blossoms out or not, or whether there's dead branches or not. I think you have to you can't wait until that comes down. Yeah, you can take a look, I think it's 12 months a year, working on it. I think you have to be proactive, not reactive. And I think you should be doing it, and I think that's the way to plan is. Why did the budget go up so much? Well, you had the ash borer, you had another disease. You have trees that are 70 and 80 years old. You had a lot of development in the 50s, 60s. Those trees are gigantic trees now. Some of them died. So you're gonna have that. And I'm proud to say that I think the town is proactive, that we don't have, as the mayor just said, very many times that a tree comes down and knocks out the power that you do in other towns that are neighbors to us. So I'm happy that we do it all the time. I don't think you can just do it at one time.
Well, there's a risk assessment normally happens in the fall, and then it would be part of our job, to go out and do assessments, monthly assessments in whatever our, section is. So it doesn't mean that we just looked one time a year and.
But aren't there professionals that do that plan was a result of a grant that was given, that we earned, right? And so we had third party came in and did that, right? Including the risk assessment, did all the forecasting and all that kind of stuff. We don't have that, right? That was a professional company that went out. I think the shade tree, what we can do within the volunteer organization that we have is we all have districts, right? And we go out and look at our districts and make the best assessment of what we think. I don't know that, Rob, we can get to where you are suggesting we be within the confines of what this committee is doing. And so if you're suggesting that we make a recommendation to the council to have a risk assessment done, then maybe that's something that we do. But I don't think that, for me personally, I don't think that fits within the confines of what our budget is. I don't think we can carve that out. within the budget that we have, but that's just my opinion, so I don't know if anybody feels
You said
differently
November,
or the
for the
same.
following year, like, we go out in
Mhm.
November for like 26,
Yes,
okay. In that grant that I read, it said that they lost 100 to 200 trees because of the storms,
Mhm.
Sandy and previous storms, so that's another thing we have to take into account, how the budget went up, you know, I
Mhm.
mean, how it, so.
well, I hear what you're saying, Marion, and I feel like, you know, it's gonna have to be a process. If we change the way we do things, we're not gonna be able to change it and expect it all to be on target. I will say that, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's like a lot of other places that are doing this exact same work that we're doing. And I think that it would make sense to get some different models of what other municipalities are doing and look to see if there's a way in which we could have a better idea when we go into the year of what our budget needs are, rather than, you know, dividing the budget up every month. Seems like that seems to be what the best practice is. So that's my opinion. I know it's a little bit of a detour, but it's relevant to the budget because, you know,
When people call up and say, my tree is falling down, you're gonna say, well, we're gonna do an assessment at the end of the year for you. No, we try to take care of those things. We do take care of them. I mean, I don't think a citizen's gonna wait 8 months for you to cut a tree down that's dead.
I mean-
that's not what I said.
Rob, maybe it's a 2026 thing that we can look into as we go into the fall to give us
Right.
enough time to.
I'm happy, I guess what I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Marion. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
I'm happy to vote for this budget as is.
Right,
I'm saying
next year.
I need to, in order to feel comfortable voting for the budget, I need to know that everyone on the committee, or that we vote at least on the committee, that we're going to try and at least look at the budget process and think about how we can be more predictive and less just estimating. Because I think that's what my understanding of what best practice is. And I think it would take away some of the tension with the council about the money that we're spending, because we would then be able to say, look, we need this money because we went out and we looked and we have this tree and this tree and this tree, and they're categorized according to the management plan, this class, this class, this class. As Frank said, that's a risk, that needs to come down, so we need more money. But when we're just, when we don't have any data or any like granular information about what we're doing, it's very difficult to make those decisions. That's my opinion.
Well, I went through the numbers that Karen gave every month, like we had 62 memos. So, and then we had 8 no work required, 7 the DPW took care of, 1 Jersey Central took care of, and 3 were parks, 1 was sewer, and then we had 15 trees that we referred to now. And then I did the Forrester's report, that's how I got 71 pruned, 30 removed, 22 fertilized, and 14 stump removals. That's how I came up with my numbers. But
So I think that makes sense, because you have a reason for it, and I'm fine with it. I wanted to get this out here since we're talking about the budget.
Yep,
And Rob, I could tell you this, I could put out, an email to one of the councilmen in Parsippany, to speak with him on this. I know he had been the council liaison to their shade tree, and he's gonna put me in contact with their shade tree commission in
Awesome.
Parsippany.
Great.
And I wanna have a conversation with their shade tree commission to understand what they do versus what we do, and try to see if there's some best practices we could both, take from one
I
another.
think that's exactly right, and if you need any
Going
help with
forward.
that, or you want me to go and talk to other people, we can work together to figure out what that
I
is.
think Parsippany's a good, I think they're the only one that has been Tree City USA longer than us by 1 year.
so what is the number we're gonna put?
You said 25.5, is that what you?
25.5.
That's what I-
It's fine with me?
Is everybody's fine with
Yeah.
that?
Okay, stump removal, what's the story here?
Well, according to the report, we did 14 stump removals, and I guesstimated at 375, and that comes out to 5250, so I just put 7,000 in.
So we do-
Well, we did last year 6,995, so I think that's right on.
So 7,000.
Yeah.
deep root watering,
Yeah, we decided to leave that at the 0 because we're hoping that what we could do is use DPW to, you know, spot water as needed.
okay.
So that some people from Shade Tree don't have to go with buckets from the creek and
I know.
water the trees.
Thanks for doing that. That's why you're the chair. You earned it.
Spraying,
Spraying. Was this
I
for
would
something?
say $1,000, and why do I say that? We have trees at Watnum Park that need it,
Mhm.
okay? We can't do just one tree there. You have to do a number,
So is spraying
trees
different
there.
than fertilization?
huh?
yes.
So spraying is different than fertilization?
Correct.
Okay.
This is for the, what is it, Dave, rust?
Needle cast disease on the
On the pine, the
on the
evergreen.
spruce trees over
Yeah.
a lot, we
Okay.
had an issue with last year.
Okay,
Does
so
this
yeah.
take into account the red lantern thing?
It is-
Spraying for that?
That is not for the lantern fly.
No, this is for a different tree
So I say
disease.
sounds very low.
Yeah, that's the other disease. Well, you can't decide. I mean, that plant never figured ash borer or
$1,000.
Okay.
lantern fly or.
Why did I put, I did.
There was a lantern fly grant
Yes.
last time
What did
for
you
some
put?
of that.
I have 1,000, well, I mean, I
You
these-
put
these ones-
1,000 too?
yeah, these ones I don't, I
Oh,
mean,
God, Rob,
I'm
we're
not
thinking
1,000,
alike.
sorry, from Frank, I just put 100. But Frank is absolutely right, I agree with him, I'd forgotten about the trees that need to be sprayed up there.
Definitely need it.
Absolutely, I'm worried we're gonna lose them.
Yeah.
Well, between the drought and then the cicadas are coming back.
Okay, new planting. By the way, what's the story, Rob, with the new planting, we're supposed to do in the fall? What happened?
Looking at me for it.
You're the planting guy.
I mean, I went around and talked to everybody,
They were planted.
they should have been
in
planted, I didn't,
December.
I didn't have a chance
They
to
were
check.
planted?
They were planted late, I guess, if they were planted.
Are
Is
you
that
sure
what I
they
just
were
signed
planted?
tonight?
Yeah, here
Oh,
they are.
December.
This is what she signed. And I put in here, yeah,
I just, when did they plant them?
they planted them the second week of December.
Probably after the leaves.
One was supposed to be at Wynwood, I don't see it planted.
I'll check with them, but they gave me
And
the
we do have a
invoice.
guarantee on these trees, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
December's
Yeah, it's late.
I will check, I mean, I
nerve-wracking for these
got
things
them
to
to
be
six.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were planted, but I'll check,
Please.
all right?
I put 8,000, I don't have,
That's fine.
For planting? Well, now I got another big excursus here. So, I'm not sure exactly about these numbers, so I wanna say that in advance, but I did a little bit of research, I was trying to, about our tree loss. So, according to my math, which does not comport with the numbers in the budget, so I'm not quite sure, cause the numbers over the last 3 years in the budget seem to indicate we planted a few more trees, but I went back through the minutes, so I'll have to talk to Karen to get the more specific numbers, but the point is that I think in the last 2 years since I've been on the commission, we removed 50 trees. I came up with 28 from the minutes, but there may be more than that,
30.
30?
I mean, I just
You have
went
30,
through the,
you have
yeah,
30?
the
Okay.
memos, yeah.
Okay, so we're at a loss there, and then if you go back, you know, when I was looking at the minutes, one of the meetings I was originally at, Jim Davidson said that no trees have been planted since 2017, which seems
But
to.
that's an incorrect statement, I hate to say.
Can I finish, and then I'm happy to let you comment, Frank? So the budget seems to indicate the same thing in terms of the planning being at 0 for 2021, so that there is no money spent there, or 660. So by my estimate, we removed more than 260 trees since 2017, and we only planted these 30. Now, like I said, the numbers may be a little bit off, but the 260 also, some of them were line items, and it was hard to tell me there's more than one tree in the parks and things like this. We did get a grant to plant 408 trees, which the plan mentions in 2013. Partially, it seemed like to offset the loss of the 200 trees in 2011 and during Sandy.
I'm saying,
So I guess my point is that we are cutting down, however you want to slice the math there, because obviously we could keep going back to figure out when trees were planted and lost. We don't have the data, which I think is a problem, but we are cutting down more trees than we are planting. So I think we need to, again, think about that a little bit, and in order to do that, we need to figure out where are the locations, that possible planting locations. And
So
do some sort of-
I completely agree with you, cause I know we've ran into the problem in the past where the homeowner calls and wants the tree removed, and when we send the letter back out to say, hey, do you want a new tree? They say no.
Right.
So then, I guess then it really is up to us to start locating areas that we should just start planting additional trees in.
I think that maybe one of the things we could have as a goal for this year is to do like a planting survey where we each take in our
Our section.
quad section or whatever, and we go around, maybe we have a map, and we make some notes about where there might be possible areas to plant.
But it's more than just that. You cut down a tree when there's a tree right next to it. You don't plant another tree there. I mean, I know I went around and have been locating places, not every tree that's been cut down needs to be replaced because there's other trees there, and a number of homeowners don't want trees. But those numbers, I don't know, those are numbers. I think this year we cut down about 30 trees, you said? So.
Yeah, removed, yes.
Removed.
I also think some of the areas where we remove trees, I do recall specifically, they are not appropriate for replanting. Right, we had that issue of the space, the 4 feet, the
Oh,
sidewalk
Hillview.
areas where we know we can't replant trees, even if someone wants it there, we can't replant in some of those areas, and we haven't replanted in parks where the trees have come down, right? And we know there's been a significant amount of trees that we've cut down in the park areas that we haven't necessarily replanted in. So I guess I'm partially, I agree in concept, but I don't know how much that's gonna help, right? Because we can identify all the spots we want, but our position has always been the homeowner has if it's in a residential area, the homeowner has the right of refusal. And we know that, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's fairly high. It was at least 60%, I think, of people who were refusing trees when they were offered to be, replanted. So I don't know how much success we're gonna have in all of that, even if we do identify these great areas, because we would all love to see great canopies and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't know how much success we're gonna have. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, I'm just saying, I'm just not so sure how successful it's gonna be and what percentage it's gonna raise.
The goal is to plant trees though, but if people don't want them.
Yeah.
They don't want them.
So we take our section and
I would say by like the March meeting, to Rob's point, let's go through our districts again
right.
and come up with at least, we say 5 to 10 spots that we could think about planting in each area.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I was thinking more comprehensive, but I think that'd probably be less work for everybody to do it like that. And
At least as a
if
start.
we all come up with 5 or 10, I don't think we're gonna have the budget to plant all those this year anyway, even if they might not all accept this year, so. I mean, as part of the community forest management plan, we're supposed to have a tree inventory now, which changed.
Right.
So I think in that tree inventory, there may also be planting stuff, there, so.
The $8,000 would get you 20 trees.
Mhm.
Okay, we didn't plant 20 trees this year.
We
And
did
we
not.
tried.
And we may not be able to, but I think we should go out and try and identify spots so that we can, we're supposed to be trying for no net loss, so we're way behind the number on that.
We all, and the map, the section's gonna be the same, right, Karen?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then between the 5 of us, if we all figure out 5 to 10 spots, it'll probably narrow by the time we figure those spots out and talk to homeowners and things. I think a goal of 20 trees to get to that $8,000 is something that we could probably get to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what was it, last year we were at
11.
I hate to see it being reduced,
Oh, I did, I reduced it.
We did more than 11 trees.
No, $11,000.
So you
So
wanna
then
keep it?
I say we hold it as is and really try with our March goal in mind of each trying to identify 5 to 10 locations in our allotted areas we'll hold it at 11,000 and just try to get as aggressive as possible to plant between between 20 and 30 trees this year.
Wait,
So
my,
Michael-
my question is, you want us to talk with folks as well,
No,
or
you
just
want us-
identify locations?
No, just identify locations as a start.
Okay.
Like, don't ring the doorbell and say we want.
No, 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 no.
I'll leave that for Rob.
No, if, once we identify locations,
Right,
then we could take it, because would need a letter from the town, no?
Right,
Okay.
we do a letter.
Yeah.
So just, as long as we're talking about it, as an aside, I noticed that, you know, we had talked to some when that, Marion, the median or planting
Yeah,
curb strip came up.
yeah.
I noticed that in the back of this plan, in the, I think it was this one, there was an appendix where there was a list of what the borough's policy is about where trees should be planted.
right.
So we all need to familiarize ourselves with that before we go and look, cause that goes to Frank's point about, well, we don't wanna plant next to another tree a certain distance from, you know, it's, page C, it's appendix C. So there's distances there and things like this, so, you know, and just an open space is not enough, we need to make sure that it fits with this, so that may limit us some too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of streets that are gonna be impacted by that.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Pruning and cabling. Oh, the spotted rain from program grant is zero, right?
The council took that grant, I guess they're handling that, so
Mm-hmm.
move on and take that out of there and go with pruning and cabling.
Well, again, I just went through, we did 71 trees. And I just did 35 and 36 to make it 7. So I came up with, what did I come up with? 40, 40, 65, but I rounded it off to 55.
51,
5,000?
I did,
50,000,
55.
55.
But is that okay with everyone?
Well, that's in line.
When we submit these, Sal, do we need to submit a justification for our lines, like the kind of?
Well, that would be my job,
Ro's done a lot of
in case they
work.
ask,
Yeah,
in case
so-
they ask me, but the council can always, you know, call you guys up.
Okay.
I'll try to tell them what you guys are speaking
Ro did a
about.
lot of work going through all those.
I can
and so,
imagine, I
yeah,
got a
so-
little catch up to do too, so.
Yeah. You could give those notes on.
Hard storm damage,
Storm damage. Might as well leave it as it is, right?
I'm
Yes.
okay with that.
I'm all right with it.
Okay.
Ash treatment that we're out of that, that's done. Fertilization,
The only tree I found that we fertilized was, the pearl law tree.
And we did some of the pear trees.
Well, I think it came up to $840.
yeah, but the problem was at the end of the year, he usually does trees that were planted during the year. And we didn't have any money to do it, okay, so,
Well, we could keep it at 3,000. We spent 3,070, but
think 3,000's enough, Dave?
I would suggest if you can to go a little higher because like we talked about last fall, but this year with the drought, you're gonna have a lot of issues of stuff declining. And again, we wanna try to preserve what we can, so if there is room in the budget, I would suggest to increase that.
To what? What are your recommendations?
So what do you wanna do,
what do you
folks?
want,
What are you at now,
what do you wanna
30?
make it?
Where it's at $3,070 actual spend.
So if you could go up to like about 45 or so, I would say,
45, you say?
yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Oh, yeah, we did 22 trees, okay.
And are there, Dave, just so we can give Sal the notes, are there specific trees that you're thinking of that are gonna need that, or just, you know?
At Watnung Park.
I don't mean like this tree or that tree, but I mean like a band of trees or the ones that we walk
Yeah.
on or something like
Watnung.
that.
Well, yeah, I think Watnong we have issues with, I mean, the pear trees are an ongoing issue.
So the pear trees and the trees at Watnong Park.
Park.
And then
Pearl
pearl
wall
law
tree.
tree uptown.
Pearl Law, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay, we hope that the council is okay with the budget.
My guess is this field inspection item here is Does anyone know what that is, or is that the risk assessment? Is that what that is, that field
I
inspection
haven't
line?
used it, so I have no money.
That's my guess, is that that's what this was put in for originally, was for, cause we wouldn't be getting paid to do a field inspection.
No, I believe that's what it's for, because I know, I think when she did Lori had to do the grant, they called in an outside Forrester to do a risk assessment, so I believe that's what that
Right.
fee was for.
Okay,
So if we're gonna do that in the fall, I don't know how much it would even be, cause I didn't have time to do that research, but.
Dave, do you have an idea?
What we did in this budget, if the council approves all this, I will be the happiest person going. Because I feel that, they're gonna look through it and say, well, we can't afford all this. I hope they don't, but,
I agree with you. My thought is that one of the things that was specifically mentioned and agreed with by a number of people on the council was the having some sort of an outside person come in order to do this kind of field inspection work.
but basically, that is what our Forrester is. He has, would you just go over your credentials a little bit so everybody makes sure that everybody knows?
Sure. I mean, I'm a New Jersey State licensed tree expert, ISA certified arborist, have a degree in horticulture from the University of Massachusetts. My partner is my vice president. He also has the same accreditations. He has a degree from Delaware Valley University, a 4-year horticultural degree as well. Both have been in the practice probably for over 30, 35 years in business together. Additional, we have ISA certified arborists on our staff. In addition to that, we do continuing education through Rutgers University. And I think in the last month, I've taken about 4 or 5 different classes through Rutgers. One was a shade tree management course in December for that. And in addition, members of the TCIA, Tree Care Industry, ISA, International Society of Arboriculture, Landscape Contracts Association, New Jersey Society of Tree Experts. I'm trying to think, there's probably a few more other things, but we're pretty much members are accredited for every aspect of the field. And not to mention, we've been in business for over 50 years from there. There is outside people that all they do is consultations, which most of them have the same accreditations. I could even recommend some people that are great guys. They could do various studies. What I do is, generally when I drive around, it's called a windshield survey, and that's something they could do for you as well. Or you could get into putting a whole program together. You could spend, I don't even know where you would end up, hundreds of thousands probably, where they can go out to every tree in town, they can label it, they can measure it, they can GPS satellite it, which is great to have on records, but at the end of the day, it's not helping us plant trees, it's not helping remove trees. But it looks great on paper. I mean, they can put together a stack of every tree. And again, it's a great tool. I think for a small town like this, I think there's a balance between what I do, what you guys do, and possibly, yeah, there's want to bring somebody else in for additional. And again, I could recommend some people too, like.
Yeah, I mean, so my thought is, and I think this has been made clear a number of times, like it has absolutely nothing to do with Dave
No, no.
or Greenwood. No one has ever said that he's not qualified or whatever. The issue is the conflict of interest of having someone do the assessment who is then getting the business from doing the assessment. That's what the issue is.
But then it's up to us to go and review each of the memos that's submitted. And I understand that we might not be, the subject matter expert for tree removal, but we have to take the recommendation of the Forrester, and we have to take into consideration what the homeowner is asking of the town, and that's the biggest thing. And I feel like that's what we do. More than that, I don't know what else we could really do without spending additional funds to now hire additional outside services to come in. Sal, did you have any thoughts on, do you think we need to look into bringing additional outside sources in?
Well, I'm just starting right now, you're asking me a big question.
Apologize
I
for
think
that
that
then.
the trees in Morris Plains are better than any town that I know around here. Guys are doing a great job. And you guys had some hurdles with the ash borer and the red lanternfly, and we're still blooming down our boulevard and everywhere. You know, you're getting into a legal thing with a conflict of interest. I don't know if I'm really qualified to say anything, but I know he's been serving on the board for how many years now, Dave? And your dad before that, right? Or
Correct, yeah. So, I mean, it's probably on and off, I would say probably 20, 30 years between the two of us. But also remind you that this also goes out to bid. So we get the job because we're the lowest bidder. And that's the end of the day. So, yeah, do we make money off it? Yeah. Honestly, it's not great money. And I'm not sitting here complaining about that, but I do it because, yeah, I love the town, I love the trees, but we're also in town every day so we can be here. John calls me up 8 a.m. I got a limb. Usually by 10 o'clock I'm there. I'm addressing it. And we take care of it. So we work well together. So it's a good, real good community feel. And at the end of the day, it's more than me coming here and just collecting a paycheck. And you know, I really care what goes on. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, whether you guys like it or not. But I think, you know, the tree needs to be assessed, and it's dead, it's diseased. You know, but if it doesn't, I'm going to say no. Let's save it. Let's treat it. You know, one for the town, and one for my professional license as well. And I appreciate everybody's opportunity to work with you guys, and anything I can do to help change things moving forward, let me know. And I'm pretty flexible and open.
I would like to see before this commission allocates any money towards a risk assessment, that we educate Sal about the checks and balances that are already in place and how we make decisions about the trees, and then get his thoughts and feedback on whether or not that's adequate, or whether or not there's something else that we need to put in place to help address that. If there's a perception that that's a perception that we need to address, or to just, you know, make sure
yeah,
we're.
it all boils down. I'm a contractor. I work in Morris Plains. I'm also on the council. If the pharmacy gets elected to the council, does he have to close his pharmacy, or can he still operate? It's a little great. It's really a trust position that whoever has an official position, you know, is honest and deals with their heart. And you know, look at the track record. You guys know best on that. And,
Yeah. And we have checks and balances in place, and I think it's worth
That's what makes
educating
America
people about
what
the
it
checks
is.
and balances that are in place to figure out if we all think that that's adequate or not. I think that's a fair
Then again, this
assessment to
committee,
address
like,
for
when we
us.
get a memo, there's not one of us that come to a meeting without going by that tree. I mean,
Yeah, and
we
that's part
take
of the
pictures
checks
on our
and
phone. I don't know what I'm taking pictures of, but I looked at the tree, and I think that's okay. I think that we're all good that way.
Yeah, that's part of the checks. So that's what I think it's worth a conversation on the committee to see if we feel we have enough checks and balances in place, and we can communicate what those are, and then we can take it from there. And Rob, if we need to, you know, in the second half of the year, if we figure out, hey, we think we need a little bit more, maybe there's new trees that need a lot of attention, and we have that money in the budget, and we could do it without, you know, trying to figure out where we're gonna take the money from. I think that's fair. I think it's very fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's an awkward conversation to have, and I'm certainly not accusing Dave of doing anything. And I think that one thing that would really help is if there was a process in place to document from on Dave's end, or our end to Dave, however you want to look at it, you know, what is being taken down, what the reason for it is being taken down, so that people have more of an idea. Because, you know, the tree's the tree. So if Dave goes out there, presumably he's a qualified arborist. If they're going to look at the thing more or less and make the same judgment call. So if we had some, you know, I think that the slippery slope is for that is, you know, if we just put all of our faith in Dave saying, well, it's going to come down, and we don't have some sort of documentation. And this is one of the reasons I've been saying for the last year.
A second opinion, you mean?
No, or just him documenting, like, hey, you know, here's a picture of this, it has this, you know, and then we have levels here in the back of our plan about, you know, what sort of risk things are. That's a level 2 risk. And then I think this was sort of where some of the issues came up at the end of last year when we were talking about prioritization. It's this sort of work on there, and then it would allow for people to see more transparently why the decisions are being made that are being made. That's more work for Dave, probably more work for Karen, probably more work for us, but I think it would be the right thing to do in terms of documenting what we're doing. And it would also have the added benefit of allowing us to have better records in terms of budgeting and best practices and other things.
So would the memo with a picture attached to it suffice?
I don't know, whenever there is something brought here, I make sure that I go out and look at it to see, I have an opinion, is this a dead tree? Yeah, I can tell a dead tree, I can tell dead limbs. And I don't vote on anything until I see it, and I make sure I do it. That's part of our job, I think. It's a counterbalance, it's a checks and balances, and that's what we should do.
I mean, if we have the memo already, and you're saying more documentation, why not attach a picture to the memo?
I'm open to,
Would that be
I'm not here to prescribe a process. I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to legitimately, openly, honestly think about what the sticking point is. The sticking point is that everything resides in Dave, and there's nothing external that people can look at, right? And that makes people feel like, hey, well, I don't really know. I work with Dave, so I know that he often comes in here and says, we don't need to cut this down. And we all know that, but I think we need to document the process. The other thing is, I feel like the classifications would help us to do a better job of budgeting, so that we could say, you know, for example, I went and looked at the Deadwood Row that you told me about over the playground over at Community Park.
Right. Which one, by the sandbox? or-
Yeah, that one, right. So, I mean, you know, I feel like I need to educate myself better. I look at it and I say, okay, it looks like that's dead and it might fall, especially as over the sandbox. Seems like a big risk for me. One of the purposes of the continuing education credits and the course that I hope to attend, whether from the money here I'll pay for it out of my own pocket, is a risk assessment course at Rutgers that will help us to, you know, we won't be experts in it, but it will help us to have a better idea of what we're looking at. So I think that, you know, along with the budgeting, the education goes hand in hand so that we can have more of a check. I think the problem has been that it's not documented and we are not educated collectively, other than that's dead or that looks. So I think, you know, both of those things together would go some way to giving more transparency and more accountability in the process.
Do you want to change the memo format?
I don't know on the spot, I would have to think about it, but maybe we would have to.
I mean, we have date and the forester's recommendation and the size of the tree and the size of the stump. The only thing we can do is maybe put the price on it, and this way we can do better on the budget. I mean, I just guesstimate it.
And I would say, to Marianne's point, maybe we do start putting a picture of everything on the memos. So then if we have to go back to something, we can go back to a photo and at least have a cross-reference and easier at hand.
So when I take a picture from my phone, I'm gonna print it at home, or am I gonna come to town hall?
Can you forward it to me maybe and I can print it?
So I know I'm talking a lot tonight, but I have a lot to say, so apologies for keeping people. There's software that could allow us to do this, but some of it is probably more expensive than we want to spend. I'm still investigating to see what other options there might be, where you could have a tree, you could just tag it and you could upload it, and then it would be part of our, you know, connected to our inventory. And we could know then, okay, when was this pruned, you know,
Okay.
when was it deep root water, when was it sprayed, whatever. And I think having that sort of data, I mean, I hear what Dave's saying, we don't need to have data just for data's sake, but I think a little bit more record keeping as to the particular trees would help us to, you know, make more educated decisions about what we're doing. So I would be happy if it's not inappropriate to talk to Mike about this at a later date. Maybe we could talk to the people in Parsippany or other people that we want to talk to and see, okay, what are they doing? What does it look like? How are, you know, what's the equivalent of a memo for them, and sort of work together to figure something out.
I say we table it then until we investigate further how some of the other towns are doing it.
Sounds fun.
Okay, we're sending the budget in, though, right?
Yes.
And
Because
who's gonna
today's the
send-
last day.
Yeah, okay,
So let's go back. I'm still on field inspection.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting 0 until another time.
Well, I mean, I think what Frank's saying is that we've already asked for more than he thinks that we're
Oh,
likely
I
to
think
get,
so too, yeah.
so if
Yeah.
we do need a field inspection, we'll have to figure that
Figure it
out.
out.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
this came out to $120,000, $120,375.
Okay,
If I
well-
did the math right.
Yeah, I had 118,600, so we only went up a couple more, right?
What, 120 what?
$120,375, if I did my math.
So
Okay.
from 96, what did we have last year?
96,700.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
Yeah.
Now, is someone gonna go and talk to Anna with this budget, or?
Yeah.
Karen, you're gonna type in the
I'll-
numbers
I'll
that
talk to her.
the council,
If
that
no
you're-
one
Okay,
else
you'll
will.
bring the
I have no
budget, excuse
problem,
me?
I'll
So-
talk to her.
It increased 23,000,
Correct.
right? 23,600?
Yeah.
23,675.
And we have notification why, right?
I think, yeah, we need to have that documented when we go and bring the budget.
I think Sal will tell us what we need, what he needs.
well, the budget's in March,
Or
so, but we need the
Mr.
numbers, and of
Dreutzler's
course,
gonna go.
earlier.
So you
Typic-
could go maybe with Mr. Dreutzler?
I don't have a problem, but typically like in recreation, Carlito will draw up the notes of what the rec commission did and send them to Tracy, to our finance office. It's, you know, then if they have questions, they'll call probably, at first they'll call Michael and someone else on the board, depending the question they have. Then again, in March when it comes up in front of the budget time, we'll be calling you.
Okay.
With the 25% increase, we'll be calling you. Not that please don't.
Frank is gonna go. Right, so Mr. Dreutzler, you'll go, correct?
I'll go talk to Anna, but you know, a lot of these things are nice and they sound nice and we're gonna do this, but you know, you have to cut the trees, you have to prune the trees, you have to plant the trees. Just look at this budget here. It's up over 20%. If I'm a council person, I'm not so thrilled about that. I just tell you that from my experience, so, just to give you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask one question, if you're done. So, in an emergency situation, you know, John calls up, Dave, there's a tree down blocking XYZ. At that point, we have a backup plan, he's gonna go in there, T&M, whatever it is, take the tree, make it open for the public. It's another scenario, a tree is leaning on one of our courts, basketball courts, and it's moving. At that time, you guys take a picture of what you're saying and you talk about it, or what,
Yeah,
what,
if it-
what
if
would the protocol be in that situation?
So if it
With the
comes-
new protocol, I should say, right?
So the new protocol, if we're alerted by it or we happen to see it, it would be that we'll call in for a memo, we'll send a picture in, and then Dave, as the forester, will go to take a look and make a recommendation on that,
And at that point, he would provide a price.
correct?
And if it's below, we have to get like 2 or 3 estimates, or he just does it, or what's typical?
No, he already has his.
He already
prices
has
that
his-
we
his-
originally-
Yeah, the bid-
So much per
It's a
manpower,
bid price, so for each
It's-
tree,
it's
Chip-
based on-
chipper,
based on the quantity.
all that, so you already have that
size,
information.
diameter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'd be on a T&M basis based on the prices he submitted, and with no surprises, okay?
Correct.
Thank you. I didn't know, so I just had to ask.
Obviously, if it's an emergency, then, you know,
It is or it
That's what
isn't.
it
it's
is,
a
yeah.
different situation. I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Are we ready for memos then, or
Are we done with the budget?
we're done?
And we're gonna do a memo why it went up and everything?
Sal's here, he'll be able to tell. Unless you wanna do a memo. Somebody wants to do a memo.
So one of the things that I'll just ask, cause I know we kinda, you know, have been trying to figure out what, you know, we have Dave do versus what we can have DPW do. Sal, if I could ask you, is it possible for you to reach out to John to see if he's available to come in to our next meeting?
Sure.
I can just tell you right now, you know, we can bring John in and I'm sure he'll be happy. But, okay, about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call and my neighbor's the same thing and a text message, tree down on Johnson Road hits the wires, okay? Boom. It's nighttime, the Jersey Central goes out, they take care of the tree, it was from our property there. and, they fixed the wires, cut the stuff up and cleaned up. But the next morning, John's out there, okay, nobody knows these things, it gets done. He's out there cleaning up the residue. You saw a tree here, it's windy, a tree come down on Watnum Park. The road guys are out there cleaning up the tree on Watnum Park. I mean, they do a lot of things, and I don't, if you wanna document all those things, we can, I guess you can. But a lot of stuff happens that, I guess it just happens and nobody makes a big deal out of it. That's part of the job, I guess. I don't know.
I'm saying this more in preparation, because obviously we are requesting a much larger budget. If we do get pushback from that budget, kind of preparing ourselves to make kind of a contingency plan to see what, outside of what just Dave and team can cut, what we could possibly lean on DPW to do a little bit more of. Just as a contingency plan if we don't get the budget that we need.
Well, I don't know how much more you can lean on them. Everybody wants to lean on the road department because it doesn't matter what happens in the borough, oh, the road department can do it. That's the phrase. Well, they can only do so much. Okay.
I'm Mike, I'm sorry. I understand what you're trying to get at, and I don't think either one of us, whether myself or John, could give you an answer just because it's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
When we get to my memos, there's a few that came up, and I reached out to John. I said, John, take a look at these trees, give me your feedback, and he'll let me know. Yeah, I think my crew can do it. No, it's unsafe for us. We can't do it. It's above our needs, or we'll work, sometimes he'll clean up what's on the ground, I'll take the rest down, or vice versa, he'll take it down, I have to grind the stump. So a lot of the stuff that I kind of know what John's crew is capable of. I'll reach out to him, get his opinion, he'll get back to me, and then I'll bring it to you on my memo.
Okay.
But unfortunately, as far as I understand you're saying, okay, DPW, John, come in here, can you do $25,000 worth of work for Shade Tree? I don't think any of us will know that answer, because most of our stuff is case by case.
I think the council would wanna know though, what DPW does.
We know what DPW does.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the sports, at the baseball fields, parks, the pool, they are stretched.
We are so lucky.
We are so lucky, is right. Not that many DPWs even get involved with the trees, they just let
Okay.
a lot of towns that I know of.
They do the sewers, they don't have a separate sewer department, that's big. Everyone
Morris
just
Township
flushes
has their
the
own
doesn't
pool.
think twice.
They have 4 people working for the pools, separately from the DPW workers. They're just dedicated for a pool, whereas our guys do even the mechanical side of it with the pumps and the filters and breaking of pipes, fixing them. We're blessed. That's what you wanna know. And we do know what they're doing from our reports, and Frank's been here a lot longer than I have. They're stretched, and everybody relies on them, and everybody has their hands out. And the more we're going forward, I can tell you, like the coaches and people in the pool and everything else, everyone wants more. A long time you had to fight to be a coach. You had to fight to fix a field. We can't beg them to come and pick up a rake. Times have changed, and that puts burden on our DPW. Do we have extra people? Do we have extra people during the summertime to help out? Yes, we've got out of it. We've been successful, and again, Morris Plains is always known to do that. But they do a lot.
I think there was an assumption that was made in the council meeting that the Shade Tree hasn't leveraged DPW to do some of the work. I think that's where, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but I
No,
think
that's
that's
why
where.
I made the recommendation
Yeah.
and this point that I was making, that we kind of took it as we weren't leveraging them enough.
Yeah.
And I just want, that's why I had asked you if John could come in to talk, but if it's a case by case basis, and listen, I'm not looking for DPW handouts, and I don't wanna stretch anyone more than they're already stretched, so we're not looking.
Yeah, and Dave made it very clear. I mean, he's got the experience, and so does John. John, there's something you can't do, there's something you can't do. And I think they'll come to a mutual agreement quickly, because if there's electrical wire there or something like that,
Yeah, I completely
I don't even know how
understood.
far we're even
Yeah.
sure to do certain things.
I do not think last year that we did not utilize DPW. I think we utilized DPW where we could. in the conversations Dave has with DPW, and DPW could do some things, and they said some things we can't do, and I think that is part of our process, where we do engage with DPW where we can. But I think it's important to get that on the record, that is part of the process that we did.
The council is very
Engage them.
happy to hear that.
And I think you have to work, like you said, I think we all know, but the liability issue of someone unqualified being forced into an issue, whereas John tells this guy, hey, go down to the Glenbrook, take care of that tree. The guy's like, all right, John said to do it. And like you said, we have wires, we have cars, we have pedestrians, or God forbid somebody gets hurt. I've seen it happen, not in town, but I've seen it happen on golf courses before, where their winter crew, what do? The guys are slow, the boss sends them out, go cut trees. And I've had several incidents of courses that I've worked on, I've heard of, where people have been seriously injured from taking trees down or not qualified, have no concept of what they're doing, just because they're on the payroll and everybody says, hey, use them instead of going to an outside vendor.
Or they look like those JCP&L trims.
Right,
We
the
have
little
on a
butcher,
couple
yeah.
of streets that are just,
With the hole in the middle,
they're horrible.
donut?
But I think there's
They're
definitely,
fragile.
there's definitely a time and a place
Yeah.
for both of us to work together, whereas, I think we can be intelligent enough and financially responsible, which makes sense, or let us do, or get it on the ground, maybe John's team can clean it up, let us do the high risk stuff. So I think there's definitely good balance and.
Okay. I appreciate that, thank you. Okay. Move into, your Forrester's report then?
By the way, did anybody double check the number I gave for the budget number? Is that right?
No,
Okay,
we'll
someone
let
should-
Anna check that.
Someone else should
Yeah.
double check it to make sure.
Why don't we do
my
the
math
memos
was right.
first, isn't that the communications we're gonna? We get in.
You guys ready for the
We don't
memo?
have any communication, do
The
we?
only communication that we have would have been the letter that you wrote. No, we have no communication.
Oh, the goals?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
But, I think we have to go back to a memo that was written in, 2024, December 11th.
24 what?
2463.
Okay. Oh, about
Okay.
when?
That was the original, yeah.
Actually, if we can go back a little further to 2462, that was 35 Malpartis. That's a tree in the park on Janeway. I'm carrying, looking confused.
This is 35.
I don't have, everything was taken care of, except 2463. That's what I have in my folder, so what tree are you talking
No,
about?
what, Mr. Honey, what was his name?
Honey shake, honey cake?
Honey.
He talked about the lot, the park on Janeway Place, and I said I would go and see him and ask, because he might want a tree on front of Malapartis. It was 34, wasn't it, number 34?
Correct.
I keep changing it from.
And he doesn't want a tree in front, but he did talk about a number of trees have been cut behind his house on this lot on Janeway. And he would like some trees planted there. So I'm just going to throw this suggestion out to everybody. It seems to me we've got $400 to plant 2 trees. And I think this would be a great place to plant those 2 trees. And if you all agree, just mark down that I already got 2 trees to plant, okay,
Perfect.
What kind of trees?
Well, Dave, what do you recommend, what kind of
I
trees?
don't know why
trees?
I wrote down maple.
No, I think
tree.
if you're gonna do the open space, I would definitely like to see a maple or an oak in those areas, because
Okay.
we haven't been able to put those in town a lot with the restrictions with the sidewalks in front of the houses, so that's a perfect area, I think. I think so a couple oaks would be great, to be honest, and fill that area
And
in.
we've been
Am I
saying that
correct?
to try to do.
Excuse me, is this in the Janeway Park?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so that's where it is, it's on the worksheet for the park,
It is on the worksheet to revisit, okay.
okay?
So I do see
Approve
it,
that,
okay.
Okay? All right,
And there's supposed to be, but there's a tree that needs work on it.
Yes, now I'm looking, it is on the worksheet,
it is on the worksheet,
yeah, so
Okay.
it was a recommendation to prune that tree, there's that one maple tree that died back in there, so.
Right.
So that should
but
be.
this was all discussed at the last meeting, it was placed on the worksheet. So this is the worksheet and we have the memos.
Okay,
So I don't know which one you wanna do first.
okay, we should address I guess it was the planting of that, I think that was what was left open.
Wait a minute.
same way, that's a 24 to 36 inch tree to be pruned,
It was in my packet.
Uh-huh.
and the cost on that
But
is,
according to our sheet, this is park maintenance and it's done by priority. So this whole sheet was done by priority, and it's all listed
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a low priority.
as a low priority, so I'm a little confused of where this is falling.
okay. No, I was just, because we never addressed the trees that had to be planted.
No, wait a minute, let me just go back to that. The priority was for the parks. Janeway was an extra.
Okay, but it's down, this is.
Yeah,
the
okay, I
park.
know where it is,
Janeway Park.
it's an extra. And if you look at that tree, which has woodpecker holes in, and
Okay.
it's so bad, and there was a limb laying there already, which the road guys picked up, okay? I mean,
So we're pruning that tree.
I hope so.
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I got it.
Now,
Grand
my
is the
other
area?
question will go, this is the park,
Got it.
where does this tree fall?
I guess we're gonna be doing the parks, okay?
So I'll put this in park maintenance,
Correct.
Sounds good.
okay, and it's a 24 to 36,
That
right?
is correct. Memo 2463, that was from December 11th, that was 168 Mountain Way. This is DPW, I put a call into John, he's gonna get back to me, but I believe he can take care of this tree. And the only thing that would be remaining would be for us to grind the stump out. So it would be a 0 to 12 inch stump at $105.
You'll get back to me on if DPW can do it. Okay.
2501, 2 Schoolview Drive. John from DPW did look at this tree, he can take care of it for us. We would have to take care of the stump grinding, so it would be a 12 to 24 inch stump, and that costs us $265. $2502, 45 Locust Drive, this is community park that backs up to Hanover Township. She had called last year about this tree, John had sent me over, and I spoke to her, I told her to call in to create a memo, which, I mean, it was months later. But she called in finally about the tree that should come down. The tree is dying, it sits in kind of a low wet area back there, so it should be removed. It's a 24 to 36 inch removal at $830. There's no stump grinding on that.
And that's park maintenance also.
Yes, because it does back up to community park,
How much was it?
$830.
Okay.
That was all I had for the memos.
3 memos, correct?
Correct.
2 stump grinds and removal.
And what about the worksheet? Are we going to do some of those trees that we put off?
In December?
Yeah. Actually, in November. Looks like 4 trees.
First of all, the work that Dave just spoke about, did it come to 1,200? Did anybody?
1173.
What do you have?
1173. I had 265, 105, and 803.
830.
830.
Hold on. Yep, 1,200.
So we need to approve the 3 memos, correct? To pay them, okay.
We're gonna do it separately in the worksheet, or?
Separate from
You
the
got a
worksheet,
separate
right?
motion at work?
No, it doesn't matter, I'll do all the purchase orders together.
Okay, so
You
we
know
can
what I'm
just hold it
saying?
into one thing then?
Right.
Okay, so then we'll go through the worksheet as old business.
Well, the pearl oil tree, obviously that's gonna be springtime fertilizing, so that's gonna stay on the worksheet. We have 11 Bryce, in the cul-de-sac there. It's a big oak to prune, a lot of dead wood. I would say it's kind of a medium-high priority where it's located. 10 Court Road, that's opposite 10 Court, it's going into the little park there in Court. There's a gorgeous oak tree there, it has a ton of dead wood in it. With people pulling in there, sitting or walking by there, that's a high priority, I feel, and should be addressed. 51 Davenport, I know we had on since the fall. That is, to me, is a lower priority. There's not a lot of traffic, most of it hangs over the wood line there a little bit, so I think that's a low priority. 15 Forest Drive, that was dead wood that hangs over the street and the driveway. I would say that's a medium to high priority. Going to 25 Harrison Avenue, we're gonna circle back in the spring with her. That's some trees that backed up to the green space, you guys remember?
Yeah.
Okay. And 30 Laurel Street, we wanna wait till the spring, to see, it's one of the ash trees, it was dying back, but I wanna wait to see if it's completely dead, or if we can buy some time, maybe get a couple more years out of it.
Okay.
From there, and then going to. And then we have 3 Winwood Road, same thing, it's a very mature oak, probably, I would say it's probably 80, 90 years old at minimal. But there's a good amount of dead wood in it that should be pruned out for safety, so that's a medium to high risk on there.
So then, we have a couple wait for the spring, a couple lower priorities. So I say that we should probably address what is considered medium to high priority today. So that's 10 Court Road, 11 Bryce Court, and 15 Forest Drive, and 3 Winwood.
Can I just ask in terms of, or are you done, Mike, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of prioritization, are we separating the prioritization of park maintenance and non-park maintenance? Because there was a prioritization that we made when we requested additional funds at the end of the year for park maintenance. In the past, we haven't really, to my understanding, we haven't separated those out in terms of priority. I don't know, it's an honest, open question. How are we viewing that, in terms of the priority lists?
So I think, however anyone feels on this, I was just gonna go sheet by sheet and just do sheet by sheet. So we were just doing this worksheet, going through which ones are priority here, and then I
This
was
one.
gonna go through this one for park
The park
maintenance.
maintenance.
Okay.
Cause I know I definitely wanna address at least the top 3
Yeah,
today.
because I think they need to be.
Especially
Okay.
the top one, yeah.
Okay, alright.
So let's do the top 3 then. And that's what it's-
So, there's one high priority at 680, and the medium high priorities are at
4
1840,
trees.
right, which comes out to 2520.
Yes.
Yep, that's what I have.
Okay, and then now we're gonna look at the sheet that we have called park maintenance, and this is, to your point, Rob, this is what we kinda did in November, ranking everything that we need to take a look at. I would think, at least for right now, from a usage standpoint, we can move forward and remove, the trees, problem trees 1, 2, and 3, the top 3 on here. Cause some of these other ones are kinda on the lower end of the priority that we can continue to monitor.
So this first one is 1, 2, 3, 4 trees, is that right?
Correct.
1,
To
2,
me, that's the
3,
highest
4.
priority one we have, which is the trees around the sandbox at Community Park.
I was over there yesterday looking, yeah, those,
Yes.
that is something to consider when we're thinking about planning. I don't know how you can't really plan under there, but
By the same.
They were kind of all timing out
Yeah.
at the same time, it looks like,
But they were
right?
trying to plant under the sandbox?
No, I'm
Or
saying
just stuff
If we
in that?
wanted to like
Let-
replant
Those
there.
trees are kinda, it seems like
They
they're all
kinda
kinda
do.
reaching the end of their, you know, like Frank said, they were planted and now they're kinda all aging out at the same time, and we don't wanna end up in a situation where all of a sudden,
Nothing.
cause that's such a
There's a
nice
lot.
area
There's a
over
lot.
there.
No,
in
it's
terms
great, and
of-
the shade is fabulous in
it's
the summer, I mean,
amazing.
it's, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's just an aside, but yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So could we just, so these are all removals then, correct? Or prunes?
The community park, the first one is
Yeah.
pruning,
Okay.
sandbox area and the horseshoe pits. Those are all pruned, there's a total of 4 prunes there.
Okay,
And then the priority 2 was at Watnong Park, we had the 2 dead trees there.
Yep.
One behind the playground, the other one closer to Sun Valley.
and just so that we could go through it, what the 36 plus is how much?
That's $700,
Okay,
so there's one 36 plus at 700, and then there's 3 24 to 36 inch at 600,
okay.
and that's 2,500 total.
There, okay.
Yeah, 580.
718. One at 700 and 3 at 600.
Yeah, but there it is, he's a prune at 2436, it's 580.
That's on last year's contract, Karen?
Okay, so all of these that we did is on last year's contract. So
They're on
we
the
added
list.
these up on this sheet. The high and everything, we have all the prices that's last year's contract.
So we have to adjust the,
So it has to be adjusted, so it's gonna be adjusted like 11 Bryce is $20,
Okay,
and, you know, you wanna give us the prices, so
Yes.
11 Bryce is 600, right?
yeah, so 11 Bryce is 600,
okay,
10 Ford is 700, 15 Forrest is 600, and 3 Winwood is 700.
So that's an additional 20, 40, 60, 80.
so 2,600.
On top of the 25, right? That would go?
No, instead of it being
25,
20,
20 is for
Oh, okay.
change.
yeah, now it's just 26 total.
Yes, so it's 2,600.
With the $20 increase in whatever,
Correct.
okay.
Right.
Got
So
that.
then for the Watnum
serious.
Park piece, the 12 to 24 removal is how much now?
That is 520,
Okay,
and then the 24 to 36 is 830. That'd bring us to 1350 for Watnong Park. And then, number 3, Pathonis Pond sign, the
Yes.
trail pine,
mhm.
that would be 24 to 36 inch, and that's $830 for that.
And do you know for our number 4 on there, do you know if DPW has removed any of the smaller trees?
I
in
believe they
there?
have not.
Okay,
I don't think I spoke to them about this,
okay,
because I know this has been ongoing with us since the fall.
okay.
Mm.
Yeah, if you don't mind bringing that up.
Yeah,
the
I
next
could
time we
definitely
talk.
talk to John and meet him over there and see what he can get done, and then,
And then we could readdress after you have that discussion then.
perfect.
Okay, so that's 3 things of work then. Okay, so those 3 things from park maintenance would be 4680.
And you also have the one at the bottom, which is another 600,
The Janeway tree, right?
okay, yeah?
Prune 24 to 36 is
Right.
600?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's 5280, so that's, of the 5,280 is being used of 7,000.
Say that again?
Well, here in park maintenance, we have a figure for the budget of 7,000. So we've used 5,280, correct,
That is
so far.
correct.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Wait till you get to the other 2.
Oh, boy, okay.
So then, right now, with moving forward, we have about everything that we're addressing this evening, going back through our park maintenance worksheet, the worksheet that we had, basing things on prioritization. We would need $9,080
That's right.
tonight
That's correct.
to move.
Yep.
9,000 $9,080?
Yes.
$9,080.
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Number five. or
Aye.
I missed it?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
You wanna talk about it?
No,
I did.
Michael, number five, we're not going the roadway from the basketball court.
No, not this month, we're
Okay.
gonna hold off.
All right.
Yeah, we only did 1, 2, and 3,
1, 2,
and then the Janeway Park.
The
and
change.
the Janeway Park.
Yep.
So before we move to adjourn on any of the new business, I just wanna read just some of the things that we wanna, you know, I know there was some kind of talk from the council and things on how we need to do things, but I just wanna go over some of the goals and objectives that we're wanting to stick to for the shade tree to represent the community, the best we can. So we wanna adhere to any residents' concerns, because these memos that we do receive are from the town's member that call in, whether the tree's dead or there's limbs and things, so that's our number one priority, is addressing the residents' concerns. And then we, as always, to properly remove any dead trees, diseased trees, and our big focus moving forward, and this is something that Rob and I have started talking about since last year, is we want to bring back the native species of trees into the community. One of the things that we're kind of always up against is the location on where to plant and the type of trees that people want. We need to really drive the point home with the residents that we want to use native species. We understand that the little trees that flower in the spring are pretty and things like that, but it's not a tree that was native to this area. And while we understand that some of those larger trees do, you know, quote unquote, scare them for other issues further down the line, we will ensure that we are on top of these trees. So one of the other things that we're very proud to be a part of is Arbor Day. And this is gonna continue. It's a program that we do at Mountain Way School. We talked about it earlier in our budget, where we order seedlings for all the students at the school, so each student can take out and have a seedling and plant it at their home. One of the things that we addressed tonight is our continued work between our Forrester, Dave, and Dave mentioned all of his qualifications that he has, and continuing to work with him as closely and bestly as we can, and how he stated that he is working as closely and bestly as he can with John from DPW. And then in closing, just plant as many trees as we can this year, and this is something that we discussed, where we're each gonna come back with about 5 to 10 locations and where to replant trees come for our March meeting, because the best time to put them in will be in that April time period. Anyone else have any new business to discuss?
I just want to say that I did go down to the League of Municipalities meeting, and I did attend this program, boosting the benefits of your municipal tree canopy. There was, I would say, 15 to 20 attendees, not that many. The mayor of Hoboken was the moderator. They had a forest ranger, a person from the New Jersey Tree Foundation, a licensed tree expert, and a researcher. And they talked about different things. I thought it was more geared to more urban places than really Morris Plains. And they talked about similar problems that we have. The space between the curb and the sidewalk not big enough. Try to go the other way. Problems with wires and things like that. So, but it was informative a little bit. And of course, they're feeling, and I think we feel the same way, that investing in trees invests in your environment and your economy of your community. So I think we do a lot of the same things that they talked about. And of course, I had to ask the question. And the question was, do you have any good Arbor Day programs for little kids? And of course, I hate to say it, I got nothing but a lot of blank looks and a lot of ahamadas after that. So I didn't gain a new program, but I tried anyway, and it's always good to listen to other people and see what they have to say. And but I think we're doing candidly what they were advocating, and it was always good to talk to a few people. So, thank you.
I just wanna say congratulations, Michael, on your new appointment. Congratulations, Rob, on your reappointment. And we're looking forward to working with you, Sal,
Same here.
2025.
And thank you for our camera
Thanks,
lady.
Karen, for all you do.
Even Clear wants to pack up, but I have some.
Even though I
Oh,
feel,
no, go ahead.
I feel a little bit, that we might not get all the money with Sal as our liaison. I'm sure of that.
Where's that magic wand?
I just wanted to talk briefly before we leave. I'll make it quick because I know it's been a long meeting about the accreditation. So just to let you know what's involved. So I think I already talked about the reasons for accreditation. So there are 4 accreditation requirements. The first one is that we have to have a current community forest management plan. So that is the same plan that Aaron gave us before. So this is able to be supported from the Green Communities Grant, which you said, I think you said, Ro, that you found too. The new requirements, I believe they're, as of 2025, require some sort of tree inventory, but I think there's flexibility there from the brief discussion I had with someone at the Shade Tree Federation about what that would look like. But, there's like a $20,000 grant for the tree inventory and the plan, and just a 5 one, and then there's a 25% match, but it can be in hours. That's what is that what you found?
Hours, yeah.
So this plan that we have here, that has to be written if we want to get accredited. I believe it can happen over 2 years, a 2-year timeline. I saw that somewhere. I have to go back and look. Then there's the core training. So for at least 1 municipal employee and 1 volunteer, then the 8 continuing ed credits, and then an annual accomplishment report we have to file by February 15th. But one thing the accreditation will allow us to do is to open up to other grants that we can apply for. So once we have that accreditation, we can do that. I think that we need to figure out how to make a plan to do this. And I don't know, I mean, if Mike and I are allowed to meet, I'm never sure about with open meetings. We can meet if it's just the 2 of us to discuss maybe how to organize this or something. But I think there's a lot of work to do here in order to get us accredited. To me, it seems important. It's liability coverage for the borough and liability coverage for all of us. And one of the things I read is that the reason that they passed the title of the act, I have it here, immunity from liability relative to community forestry. It's section 59.4-10, if anyone's interested, if you haven't already seen it, is because shade tree commissions were disbanding because they were getting sued individually by people for the decisions they were making. And so that the state put this, how much of a threat is that? I don't know, but that made me nervous when I read that. So I think that, I would like to work towards that. I'm willing to lead on that if people want me to, but it's a lot of work for one person to do on their own, so there'd have to be some collaboration.
I just have a question.
Well, let us know.
Is that a shade tree commission responsibility, or is that a council responsibility? Because when you look at the plan from
5-year plan,
before,
that green community grant.
yeah, it was Lori Fu who was the liaison, so she was on the council, and the council took on the ownership of that. So did you see anything about what the?
My impression is from the discussion I had with one of the people at New Jersey Shade Tree Federation that it's a shade tree responsibility. And that this is part of our charge, and I believe that is what the text of the, I may not have brought it with me, but the text says as well, that we have to have a plan, there's something there.
Let me tell you, people use the word liability very loosely, I think. I mean, life is a liability, okay? If you can prove that you have a program, you're going to get rid of that liability. If you don't have a program, you will have a liability. It's just like if you have sidewalks that are raised and you don't have a program to replace them, you have a liability. But if you can prove that you have a program, that takes care of part of that liability. And I will say, let me tell you, Rob, this is a big undertaking, and you're not gonna, maybe you will do it, but it's gonna take a couple of years, because I know the work that went into that program, and it took a long time, and people put in a lot of work. I don't think they ever got the credit that they all deserved, or I hope, I mean, we got 408 trees, we did a lot of planting. It was a great undertaking, but it took tremendous amount of work,
I hear you on the liability, and I've thought about that. I think that the protection here is that it's sort of, there's an additional statute that specifically protects us, right? So it's kind of a double layer of protection as opposed to the standard, demonstrating that we're doing our due diligence. I'm happy to try and do it. I think it's important. I think that, there's a lot of things that we could learn from doing the process, both about our own processes and what could be better about the forest here, and from other places. Doesn't mean we have to change everything that we're doing, but I think it can never hurt to go and look and see what other people are doing and think about what we could take from them, and maybe they could learn something from us.
And actually, the people that came down from the state were impressed with us, but they did have some suggestions, like always. I mean, nobody has a perfect answer, and there's always a better way to do something. So, it's a great undertaking. I congratulate you for heading it up.
So what I hear, Frank, is you're not helping. Is that what I hear?
I did enough in that other
No,
one.
I understand what I hear.
Let me tell you.
All right.
We'll bring more information.
I'm 100%
And
happy
you
to work
can
with you.
use that as a guideline, really.
Well, that's what I kind of think. We can use a lot of that as a template. Yeah, I think so. We can use that as a template.
And what I'm gonna do with talking with Shade Tree from Parsippany, and I'm gonna see if they have any other contacts in some surrounding towns. Let's see what they're doing, and then get some feedback there, and then let's move forward with this.
Sounds good to me.
You gotta know one thing, Parsippany has a great parks department, and that's where I think the trees are under.
Okay.
They had a person in there who was there forever, and he was a spectacular person. He was a mover and shaker.
It's also hard to tell in some of the budgets that were mentioned in the council meeting, what's included in those budget numbers, right? I don't know if it's an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah,
It is,
absolutely.
it'd be pretty remarkable, but, I don't know, to Frank, to your point about parks, it could be some of their stuff is in their parks budget and some of it's in the shade tree budget, so that would be interesting when you guys do your research to
Absolutely,
figure
yeah, that's
out.
why we need to talk to people, yeah,
the
figure that
details.
out, right?
Good.
And that's part of why it's changed, obviously.
So that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
I don't know, I made an extra copy of this. This is what, I emailed to everybody, boosting the benefits of your municipal tree canopy. I made an extra copy if anybody wants it. Does anybody want this copy?
I was there.
Frank was there.
Sure, I'll take it.
You'll take it?
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, I have it, I
You
downloaded
have
it.
it, you
Yeah.
downloaded
Yeah, I
it.
have it
down,
downloaded, but I'll take it, so you don't have to carry it.
Alright, well, I have one.
Save the
more
trees,
file.
save
I can't believe I hit
My
down.
phone, actually, I don't need it anymore.
Alright, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved,
So moved.
second.
Okay,
You can
second,
put me as a second, that's fine.
Great
okay,
meeting.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So you could